All right, hello everyone. Dr. Moser here. I'm in my nice, comfy clothes, and I am ready to go on a little bit of a rant. I've been MIA mainly because I've been taking care of patients across the country, which is such a blessing. So I'm so grateful for that. Keep spreading the word, keep spreading the truth, keep sharing these videos, like and share as well. So this video is going to be why I do not race for the cure, and this is also why I do not give money whenever they try to guilt trip you at grocery stores, etc., to donate to certain foundations. Because when you look at the behind the scenes actions of these foundations, it's very stingy. There will never be an actual cure when it comes down to you having to fix the cause. So first off, people, you need to start taking personal responsibility for your poor health decisions. Stop getting tricked into donating a ton of money to causes that don't give a crap about people's health. So I stumbled across this article that one of my colleagues shared with me. I've been going through it, and he did an awesome job of actually highlighting the majority of this stuff. So I'm going to be actually going through this. And now this article was actually done by a medical doctor. So it might get you fired up. It gets me fired up. But basically, this is going to be going over the article. It's called American Cancer Society, the world's wealthiest nonprofit institution. So let's talk about that. So basically, they have been harboring money for years and years and years. So we'll go through this and I'll read this with you so that way you can share my frustration. All right. So again, this is talking about the American Cancer Society, world's biggest nonprofit institution, world's wealthiest. They control the most power. And then the one thing I want to make sure I point out here too is this is not a doctor of chiropractic that wrote this article. This was an MD. This was a medical doctor. So basically ratting on his own people. So basically, they've been trying to do damage control. That's the first thing that I want to talk about here before we really go into this. Is again, there will never be a cure because you have to figure out what the cause is. So all this money, all this awareness is all raised for trying to raise money for a cure. And like I said in my previous video, they'll never be able to give you a pill that's going to change your entire internal environment that's going to get your body to go back to 100% health all over again. So that's the first thing I want to point out. Next, we'll go through a lot of the highlighted stuff here. But basically what this is doing here, back in 1988, the ACS, American Cancer Society, had held a fund balance of over $400 million with about $69 million of holdings in land, buildings, and equipment. Of that money, the ACS only spent $90 million, about 26% of its budget, on medical research. Okay? 26% of its budget on medical research and programs. Okay? The rest covered operating expenses, including about 60% for generous salaries, pensions, executive benefits, and overhead. Okay? By 89, the cash reserve of the ACS were worth more than $700 million. So again, yes, this is a little bit older in terms of the research, but back then, again, this foundation was started and it didn't have any real high vested interest in getting people healthy or well because there's no money in that. There's no money in health and wellness and making sure the crops aren't sprayed with pesticides, make sure we're not putting chemicals in the air. This is all stuff that will give you more predictability, give them really more predictability that everyone will be sicker in the future. And it's sad to think that they don't have our best interest in mind, but this is the type of brainwashing we get on a daily basis from our television shows, from our commercials that are out there. First off, let me just tangent here for a second. Let me get fired up. Clear the throat for a second. Why the hell are there pharmaceutical commercials on TV? Go ahead and tell me that. Why are they on television? There is no purpose for a medication to be on a television commercial. So why is it there? Because now it empowers the patient, it empowers you to go on, basically watch a TV show, go to your medical doctor and say, I saw a commercial for blah, blah, blah. I need to get this medication because it said it can help with my rheumatoid arthritis. Why the hell are those medications on there? That information should not go to the lay public. And it's basically brainwashing you. The more you see that commercial, the more you see people frolicking through the fields to make you think that you are missing out on that medication. You aren't sick because you lack a medication. You're sick because you chose to make sick health decisions. Own up to it, change it. That was my little tangent there for a second. All right, so moving on here. So scrolling down to the next highlight thing here. So the Chronicle of Philanthropy reported that ACS, American Cancer Society, was more interested in accumulating wealth than in saving lives. Fundraising appeals routinely stated that the ACS needed more funds to support its cancer programs, all the while holding more than $750 million in cash and real estate assets. So you're basically screwing, you're basically getting screwed over, getting tricked into thinking that your dollar actually makes a freaking difference. All right. Thus, they also broke this down here too. For every dollar spent on direct service, about $6.40 is spent on compensation and overhead. So if anyone is running a business, this sounds like it's a terrible business in and of itself, but they don't even have to worry about generating funds anymore because we're so brainwashed into giving money time and time again because we know so many people are dying more and more recently with cancer. So we have this false sense of security thinking that we're doing a good thing, thinking that we're supporting a good cause, walking around with pink, dyeing our hair pink, but doing all these things, putting pink ribbons everywhere. Why? Because we are tricked into thinking that it's actually going to make a difference, and it truly isn't, which is really messed up because they're playing on our heart, playing on our emotion, and lying to us, and it's not right, okay? This is another one here, too. So let's see, revealed that the Texas affiliate of the ACS owned more than $11 million worth of assets in land, real estate, as well as more than 56 vehicles. Why the hell do you need 56 vehicles? All right, we're raising money, but I need 56 vehicles, including 11 Crown Victorias for senior execs and 45 of the other cars assigned to staff members. So basically, everybody got their own car. It's like Oprah over there. You get a free car. You get a free car. You get a free car. Why? Because it's apparently going to be a write-off for them, so that way they don't have to actually invest that back into getting people healthy or well. Not that their research will actually do that, because I'll do a side tangent on you. A lot of the research that has actually been done whenever it comes to cancer was done back in the early 1900s, from pancreatic enzyme therapy to even high-dose estrogen therapy. That's another thing that I'm diving into a little bit more. High-dose estrogen therapy was actually causing rapid proliferation of cells, but also maturation of cells too. So they went from undifferentiated, which means they had no real duty or job in the body, to differentiated, which means they were a cell of, say, a lung tissue or a uterine tissue, whatever the case may be. And high-dose estrogen therapy was getting great results because it was causing these cells to rapidly proliferate, but also mature, so that way they could not turn into cancer cells. But that's going to be a different topic for a different day. But again, this research was back in the 1900s before they even started waging this war on cancer. And a lot of this research got pushed by the wayside because guess what? It's not lucrative enough for people to invest in actual treatments and healthy alternatives whenever it comes down to getting your cancer in there. All right. So nationally, only about 16% or less of all the money raised is spent on direct services to cancer victims. So basically, that's like driving cancer patients to the hospital after chemo, pain medication, et cetera, et cetera. So basically, we're raising all this money to give these people very, very, very lucrative lifestyles. All the while, we're getting tricked into thinking it's doing something, and it is not at all. Only 16% of the money is actually being used. So some people might play devil's advocate on that. Will say, well, at least that's something. At least they're trying to do something. But let me ask you this basic question: how are we doing for cancer? Are we getting better, or are we getting worse? Are we getting a higher success rate, or are we getting a lower success rate, or is it the same? I've got news for you: it's the exact same. We only have a 2.1% success rate in the United States of curing cancer over 5 years. Why is that? Because we're getting blasted with toxic treatment, never being told to change the internal environment, and all of a sudden this stuff is coming back with vengeance because you never, ever, ever address the root cause, which is the environment. Let's move on. All right. So current budget, ACS is $380 million. Okay. Excuse me. So a lot of people do not know that other charities make contributions to political parties. So let's not even dive into that because of the election here. But this is the awesome stuff here. There's a lot of highlighted information here, and this is going to tick a lot of people off. And that's really the reason I'm doing this, because I want to tick a lot of people off, not just to make you angry, but to make you understand where this stuff is coming from and where the information is going. So let's talk about this. So in 71, okay, 1971. There was plenty of studies that proved that DES, or diethyl-estradiol, caused vaginal cancers in teenage daughters of women administered the drug during pregnancy. Okay? Direct link of causing cancer. The ACS refused to testify in Congress, basically required by the FDA, and didn't do anything to ban its use in the animal feed and gave no reason for its refusal. So again, ACS is supposed to be doing something good, is supposed to be raising awareness, supposed to be getting research, and they haven't been doing anything to try to get that for you. 77 and 78. ACS opposed regulations proposed for hair coloring products that contain dyes known to cause breast cancer, liver cancer in rodents. In doing so, the ACS ignored virtually every tenet of responsible public health, as these chemicals were clear-cut liver and breast carcinogens. Again, they're ignoring all of this stuff. They're ignoring all of this data that is right in front of their faces. Do they have your best interest in mind? No. They're walking around looking at research like this, like, oh, I don't have to pay attention to this. I'll never get caught for it. I'm immune. They're a bunch of rich idiots and jerks basically running this whole thing here. All right, ACS here. So, called for a congressional moratorium for the FDA's proposed ban on saccharin, and even advocated its use in nursing mothers and babies in moderation, despite clear-cut evidence of carcinogen. So for those of you who don't know what carcinogens are, it basically says it directly causes cancer. They found out in rodents that they do that. They try to use rodents because it's not ethical to do this in adults. But when you have tumors grown in rodents, it's a pretty clear-cut sign like, hey, maybe we shouldn't be using this stuff, okay? This reflects consistent rejection of the ACS of the importance of animal evidence as predictability in human cancer risk. Now, let me also throw this little spin in here for you. It's not in this research, but when we're talking about cancer cures and we're talking about how we use chemotherapy and how we use other different agents to be able to cure cancer, what is the first thing, or what are the first things that we use to test these antidotes on, if you will? We use mice, we use animals. Why is that? Because again, it's not ethical to experiment on adults or on kids or on humans. However, when they use this stuff, they aren't inducing cancer in these rodents. Okay, this is actually why a lot of cancer treatments do not work, even though oncologists are touting and basically bragging, "Oh, this works so well, this works so well, this works so well." No, it was never actually designed to go after a human tumor. What they do is they'll take a tumor from a human and then they'll go and put it inside of a rodent, and then they'll hit it with medication or chemotherapy, whatever you want to call it. They'll hit it with those things, those drugs, and they'll see if it reduces the size of the tumor. Well, the other thing that you need to know is 90 to 95% of cancer is due to environment. So if you take away your tumor out of a toxic environment and you put it into a mouse that doesn't have a toxic environment, that tumor is not going to induce a bad environment. It's going to be basically like, well, listen, the environment's nice and cleaned up. I don't really have to do anything around here. I'm going to shrink up. The other thing on top of it is that when it's inside of a human person, inside of a human body, there's a process known as angiogenesis, which means you're basically bringing vascularity, blood supply to that tumor. Tumors cannot survive without angiogenesis. That's actually a way to treat cancer, is to either trick it and cause more angiogenesis and pump products into the tumor cells, or if you just basically sever off those connections and decrease angiogenesis, you start to starve that tumor cell, will no longer be able to survive. So again, that's why our success rate is so freaking low, is because we're not actually testing these things out properly. And not only is it, again, a totally distant memory that this stuff doesn't work, but let me run. I'm getting all fired up here. Let me calm down for a second. So basically, we just need to we need to retrain the way that we're thinking about treating cancer. Okay, don't treat cancer. Treat the person. Figure out why the person developed cancer to begin with. That's it. That's all. So let's move on here. So 1978, Tony Mazzucchi. Okay, sounds pretty fancy right there. Senior rep of Oil, Chemical, Atomic Workers. You can see where this is going here. An union roundtable between public interest groups and high-ranking ACS. Occupational safety standards have received no support from the ACS. So when we're talking about occupational standards, okay, one of the things that stuck out in the forefront of my mind when I was going through chiropractic school and I was trying to pass national boards, which I did, obviously, because I'm a chiropractor now, one of the big things that they talked about were people who used to work on brakes. Brakes used to be made out of asbestos. A lot of folks were getting cancer from those asbestos brakes, not just because they're coming in contact with them, but they're cleaning the brake dust off of the wheels, and they never knew back then that they were toxic. So what those people were doing are getting them on their skin, so it'd be absorbed in the bloodstream, breathing it in, and they were constantly being exposed over and over again. So you could get the obvious mesothelioma, you see the commercials all over the place for it, but you could also have a higher risk for prostate cancer. The majority of my prostate cancer patients actually out in Ohio have a previous history of working with those asbestos brakes. but the ACS still decided that it wasn't important enough to induce or make any standards whenever it came to occupational hazards or safety. All right, it's ridiculous. So 1978, Congressman Paul Rogers censored the ACS for doing too little too late and failing to support the Clean Air Act. It's one of the things that we can't help is the air that we breathe because it's toxic. We have a lot of crap in there. We have aluminum from chemtrails. We have other heavy metals that are in the ground. If we're using Roundup, that Roundup is in the water. It's water soluble, which means it gets sucked into the water. That water is going to go up to make new rain clouds, and you're going to be basically dropping that stuff down. It is just constant. Science is constant ecosystem. That's how things work. It rains, rain comes, evaporates, go back into the clouds swell, then all of a sudden, boom, rains again, and there's this cycle time and time again. So even though they're like, oh, well, we're just using them in certain environments, we're using them over here, or we're using them over there, you can see the clouds moving through the freaking sky. They're going to basically pick up the water from one location, move it over to another location, drop toxins everywhere. So it's going to be in the food. It's going to make our soil terrible. We're not going to have all the nutrients that we need in the soil, which is why supplementation is so huge, and that's why we are so freaking sick. Get rid of glyphosate. It is terrible. Do not use Roundup at all. And then on top of that, if you do use Roundup, you're an idiot to begin with. But at the same time, if you have pets, and your pets are going out, picking up the Roundup on your feet, bringing them into your house and trampling all over your house and trampling all over your bed, good luck. You're going to be breathing that stuff in there too. All right, so going in here. So 1982, the ACS adopted a highly restrictive cancer policy, insisted unequivocal human evidence of carcinogenicity. Oh, it's a mouthful. Basically, yeah, so they're trying to ban the addition of foods to have any additives that basically would cause cancer in either animals or humans. They were against the policy. The ACS was against banning those chemicals, those toxins in the food because they're, again, not in it to actually help people out. 83, ACF refused to join a coalition on the March of Dimes, American Heart Association, and American Lung Association to support the Clean Air Act. So again, this was a too little too late. This is, again, talking about the Clean Air Act. It doesn't help it. They didn't have any interest in doing so. All right. Chlorine. Chlorine is another one that is, again, toxic to the body. It's in our bloodstream. It's everywhere. And the ACS had a part in that. So you can basically see how all of this stuff over the years has been accumulating time and time and time and time again. They do not care. The ACS does not give a crap on how well we are doing. They do not care. All they care about is raising as much money as humanly possible so that way they can drive around in really fancy vehicles, take care of themselves, take care of their families. And I doubt, you look at the research too, not many oncologists would actually ever take chemotherapy. Stuff is a biohazard. It literally is. If you have chemotherapy and you spill it in the room, you have to clear out that room. People in hazmat suits have to come and clean it up before anybody can come back into that room. But the only place that it's safe to put it is inside your freaking body. You're an idiot. Not to mention where chemotherapy came from. Okay, it was used as Agent Orange back in the day, and the reason that they used it was because they found out that it killed rapidly dividing cells or rapidly producing cells or proliferative cells. It stopped that production. So they're like, oh, maybe we could use this to kill cells off, and they did. And so that's why you'll see people with hair loss is one of the fastest things, and intestinal health goes down too, because those are the two areas where your cells proliferate the quickest. So long story short, I mean, there's tons of information on this. Again, this article, if you want to look it up, is the American Cancer Society, the world's healthiest nonprofit institution, and it's from Samuel S. Epstein. It's a medical doctor. So really, don't donate. It sounds terrible and it sounds mean. You can blame me. I don't care. But do not raise money for these organizations. If you want to raise money, if you want to spend money, start spending money on taking care of yourself. Invest into your health, because realistically, what is your most important asset? Is it making yourself feel good because you donated to a cause that you thought was good and you're going to get lied to? No, your most important asset has to be your health, because no matter how many of your 54 vehicles you have or how nice your house is, if your health goes and it leaves you, you're going to be spending all of your time and money getting poisoned by the ACS, American Cancer Society. You're going to get poisoned trying to fight for your health again. So don't wait until you have a health issue. Don't wait until you develop cancer. Don't wait until you have heart disease. Don't wait until you have diabetes. Take action now. Start having predictability of health into the future. Start cleaning up your crap now. Because if you do, then you won't be a statistic, or you'll be a statistic, but on the positive end of the statistic. All right. Otherwise, you're going to keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result. When you're sicker and sicker and sicker, the only person you have to blame is yourself. You can't chalk this up to your age, your genetics, your culture, your heritage, whatever the heck bullcrap idea you want to pull out of your butt. You cannot blame those things. Your genes are your genes. What genes you want to express is completely up to you and what you put into your body. Look up epigenetics with Bruce Lipton. He talks about how you can change gene expression based off of what you eat, based off your stress and perception of what you're taking in from the environment, both externally and then internally. So work on yourself, work on your health. I'm going to be doing more of these videos here. I got more research I'm going to be diving into, but I've got some phone calls that I need to place through here and actually work with some of my other cancer patients. So, and as a side note, I don't treat cancer. I treat the patient, and as a side effect, cancer tends to go away. So take care, everyone. Like this video, share this video for those of you who maybe are frustrated with trying to be forced into donating money to Susan G. Komen or whoever these organizations are. Invest in yourself, because that's the best return on investment, is when you invest in yourself. So take care. Have a blessed day. If you have questions, comments, leave them in the comment box. I'll get to them later on today. Take care, everyone.